Amazing piano tune revealed. Billionaire's bet backfires when he plays like a genius. The headline blared across screens, igniting a mix of awe and scorn in Ethan Carter's small town. At 16, Ethan wasn't just any boy. He was a piano prodigy lost in a world where music felt like both a gift and a heavy burden. Poverty gnawed at his family, with his parents struggling to keep the lights on and food on the table. His father's calloused hands spoke volumes with each day he left for yet another shift. On the other hand, his mother was often confined to bed, battling health issues that required constant care. Ethan's fingers danced across the keys, but now they trembled. The thought of facing Rich Hargrove, the wealthy billionaire whose mere presence felt like a spectacle, filled him with dread. Hargrove thrived on challenges, and he had chosen Ethan as his unsuspecting competitor for a dangerous game that transcended mere pride. For Ethan, losing meant not just failing himself, but becoming a mockery to those who already scorned him. The whispers of classmates echoed in his mind. What makes him think he can take on someone like Hargrove? A bitter reminder that he worked and struggled while others simply enjoyed privileges he wondered if he'd ever experience. Ethan's heart raced with unease, thrumming against his chest. Pressure weighed on him like a shadow he couldn't escape. In this town, every overlooked note, every slip of his fingers had scouts attuned like hawks, ready to tear him apart. As he practiced, he could almost hear the taunts rise again. "Don't embarrass yourself, Ethan." And beneath that was the fear of validation, or the lack thereof. Would mastering the relentless composition elevate him, or would it simply deepen the chasm between him and those he sought to impress? Before he could drown in his thoughts, a stark realization hit. If he wanted guidance, he'd have to confront the one person he resented the most, his grandfather, Jack. Jack had turned his back years ago, leaving behind scars that ran deep. Reluctantly, Ethan made his way to Jack's old home, a place that reeked of old music sheets and bitter memories. As they rifled through the dust of their shared past, the air bristled with everything unspoken. Vulnerability flickered like candlelight. Could they really bridge these gaps? The notes of their shared history, heavy with regret and lost dreams, blended with hope in ways neither realized until now. Just as they began to make progress in their reconnected bond, doubt seeped into Ethan's muscles. His fingers faltered as thoughts spiraled. Would this connection crumble like years of disuse, or become something strong enough to hold together? The echoes of ridicule pulled at him, amplifying his insecurities. Practice turned into agony. Days merged into an ever-tightening noose of anticipation. The looming spectacle of Hargrove's challenge felt like a pendulum, swinging closer to the day of performance while each rehearsal chipped away at Ethan's composure. The once tranquil sound of the piano morphed into an oppressive weight. Just days before, during a private practice session, his fingers slipped. One missed note ignited chaos in his mind, triggering flames of self-doubt that burned brighter with every self-recriminating thought that followed. The evening of the performance drew near, and anticipation ignited a storm in his stomach. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The night arrived cloaked in tension, filled with familiar, judgmental faces, many of whom wore doubt as armor. He sat at the piano, feeling the weight of every expectation. Memory surged within him, Jack's weathered fingers guiding his own in lessons of resilience and belief. With every press of a key, he felt the murmurs shift into a roaring tide, the ghosts of the past colliding with a future uncertain and murky. But just as Ethan started delivering the final notes, a sudden disruption jolted the auditorium, leaving him suspended, finger poised in midair, the question lingering unsettlingly in the silence. Would he triumph over the noise of chaos, or would he become another lost note in a discordant world? Ethan's heart raced, the silence stretching like an elastic band ready to snap. The eyes of the audience bore down on him, their expectations mingling with his own anxieties. And that moment of poised tension felt both maddening and liberating. Questions flooded his mind. Could he actually pull this off? Could he transform years of struggle and grand aspirations into something more than a fleeting performance? One quiver of his fingers sent a shiver up his spine. Here he was, caught between the braces of self-doubt and a burgeoning recognition that perhaps this was about more than validation or mockery. As the blinking lights of cameras almost choked the air, Ethan became aware of a sense of purpose long buried beneath layers of fear. He felt the weight of his family's sacrifices, his mother's patient support, and now the tentative but growing connection with Jack. Would this be their chance to rewrite a shared narrative of disappointments? With a deep breath, he firmly grounded himself, brushing aside the cacophony of uncertainty. He thought not only about winning or losing, but also about what coming back to his craft meant. In those instances of doubt, vulnerability evolved into resolve. Ethan closed his eyes briefly, reconnecting with the emotions he poured into the keys, drawing upon every tear and every smile embedded in his musical journey. He began again, each note flowing like a whisper from his soul. As he played, memories entwined with notes. Happy afternoons spent learning and experimenting. The sharp sting of disappointment when his fingers failed him. The laughter shared in fleeting moments with his grandfather over old melodies. Each riff acquired texture. Each chord became a stitch in a much larger fabric. The audience's murmur faded into the backdrop, replaced by the pulse of his own heartbeat resonating through the music. For the first time, he was no longer merely executing notes, but combining them into something greater, a storytelling moment larger than himself. The performance morphed the pressure surrounding him into an exhilarating challenge. He dared not only to play, but to connect with those listening. As the final notes hung in the air, lingering like a soft echo, Ethan dared to reveal himself fully, exposed yet empowered by a profound acceptance of his journey, flaws and all. But just as he finished, a shift occurred in the expression of the crowd. What he had anticipated as ridicule transformed into reluctant admiration, confusion peppering the faces that had once doubted him. He took a moment to breathe deeply, allowing their reaction to wash over him. In that moment of blissful naivety, it struck him. This performance was not just about the applause, nor the judgment of Hargrove or the others. It was a testament to his growth, a recognition of the hard-fought battles that did not grant victory outright, but offered wisdom and perspective. The realization welcomed a new anxiety, however. Would he be able to sustain this clarity? The path ahead loomed intimidating again, now tinged with new expectations, his own hopes pressing in on him like a vice. Success could come with its own traps. He could either rise to the challenge or fall prey to that same self-imposed perfectionism that had haunted him for years. As he stepped away from the piano and faced his grandfather in a quiet corner of the auditorium, Ethan saw a flicker of pride in Jack's eyes, a long-lost connection that made his heart ache. Ethan's journey was still only beginning, and he realized he could no longer allow the fear of failure to consume him. What would he discover about himself next in a world that seemed suddenly larger than before? One where he could dare to push through the chaos. In that unguarded moment, Ethan made a silent vow. He would chase the music, no matter the risks. But as much as hope bloomed within him, shadows murmured of upcoming challenges. And looming above all was the ever-present specter of Rich Hargrove. The question curled around his mind like smoke from a fire. How would he face the billionaire now that he had tasted a brief note of victory in his own right? Ethan stood at the edge of the stage, the energy from his performance still lighting up his insides. Yet the looming figure of Rich Hargrove felt like a shadow threatening to eclipse it all. A mix of exhilaration and apprehension coursed through him. The audience's bewildered admiration had stoked a flicker of hope within him, but the confrontation with Hargrove was an impending storm. As he acknowledged Jack's encouraging smile, Ethan pondered the lessons his grandfather had instilled in him: perseverance and integrity above all else. Yet here he was, grappling with the tension between ambition and the fear of succumbing to the very pressures that had nearly consumed him. The vibrant energy of the crowd, buzzing with newfound respect, began to feel like a distant blur as Ethan squared his shoulders. He had defied expectations for the first time, but could he do it again? The weight of his new determination felt heavier with the knowledge that Hargrove would not let this affront to his pride sit idly. What strategies could he employ to navigate this territory, now marked by notoriety? How could he harness the adrenaline of his performance to embolden his next steps? A sudden noise pulled him from his thoughts. Hargrove's voice, smooth yet tinged with an edge of menace, cut through the atmosphere. "Ethan, quite the show out there. Impressive," he remarked, stepping closer, a predatory gleam in his eyes. The man was a towering figure of wealth and control, and yet in that moment, Ethan saw more than just intimidation. He detected a glimmer of something else: curiosity. "What's next for you?" Hargrove pressed, his tone almost taunting. "You realize the stakes now, don't you? You've upset a balance." Ethan inhaled slowly, his heart pounding, but he clung to the resolve manifesting within him. "I'm just getting started," he replied, steadied by a deeper understanding of himself. The accuracy of his words felt foreign, yet liberating. He was ready to confront his fears, even if it meant standing toe-to-toe with the man who had so easily dismissed him before. Hargrove raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Ambitious, I like that. But the game has changed, Ethan. You now have expectations to meet." "More than meeting expectations," Ethan fired back, emboldened by his newfound clarity. "I'm here to create something meaningful, not just to impress you or anyone else." The boldness surprised him, yet it surfaced from a reservoir of personal conviction. "Meaningful?" Hargrove chuckled darkly. "All that glitters is not gold, my friend. Just remember, the music industry is not like the sweet notes you play. It can be cutthroat. Think carefully about your next steps." Ethan's pulse quickened, the truth in Hargrove's words resonating in the recesses of his mind. While he had turned a corner, could he truly navigate this turbulent world without losing himself again? He felt the allure of success whispering promises of grandeur, yet he also sensed the shadows of his previous pitfalls lurking behind. Determined, Ethan turned his back to Hargrove, seeking refuge in the promise of creation. The melody that lingered in his veins urged him to transform fear into fuel, to trust his instincts rather than surrender to doubt or expectation. Drawing on the bond with Jack, the memory of laughter shared over music, Ethan recognized that every note he played was interconnected to this journey, a pathway tied to his essence. But as he stepped off the stage for the last time that evening, something nagged at him. Could he remain true in a world designed to manipulate excellence into mere possession? The edges of his resolve felt frayed, whispering questions more probing than before. With Hargrove lurking as a reminder of adversity, Ethan felt an icy tendril of concern slacken around his heart, yet the uncertainty twisted within. He could rise to confront this, but what sacrifices would he have to make? The musings unsettled him, but it also ignited a fire that flourished within. He had tasted victory, yet doubt still simmered under the surface. As he walked away from that encounter, the prospect of a grueling battle loomed. The time had come, Ethan realized, to not just defend his place, but to forge the path ahead, where risks could birth something transcendent or perilously new. With resolve hardening in his chest, he made a choice. He would not allow Hargrove's games to dictate his narrative. "It's time for a new creation," he murmured to himself, attention sharpening as he headed towards his next endeavor. What melodies would he find in the confrontation ahead, as the sound of Hargrove's words played like a haunting refrain in the background? The journey had only just begun, and the real test awaited him on the horizon. As Ethan stepped into the dimly lit confines of the recording studio, the atmosphere shifted, laden with potential and anxiety. Surrounding him were walls plastered with photos of iconic musicians and their legacies, a testament to what artistry could achieve. But lingering just beneath that inspiration was the shadow of Rich Hargrove's expectations, pulsating like a specter threatening to swallow his newfound ambition whole. He took a moment to collect his thoughts, closing his eyes and envisioning the notes he wanted to bring forth. The keys of the piano beckoned to him, their glossy black and white surfaces promising an escape, a conduit for his evolving self. Yet doubt gnawed at the back of his mind, planting seeds of uncertainty. Would he be able to craft something authentic amidst the scrutiny ahead? "Let's get to work," Jack's voice cut through the tension, enthusiasm lacing his tone. "You've got some real momentum now, Ethan. We can shape something timeless." Jack's faith was a lifeline, grounding Ethan. He nodded, taking a seat at the sleek piano. The first discordant chords emerged under his fingertips, an echo of the tumult that roiled within. Each note reflected conflicting impulses. Could he maintain his artistic integrity while navigating Hargrove's world? The tension between expectation and authenticity emerged like a ghost between them. Ethan began to compose, weaving melodic fragments that resonated with his emotions. The notes spilled forth, each one a declaration of freedom that sought to embody more than just a fleeting moment of recognition. The essence of that very resolve surged through him. This was a journey toward creating meaning rather than mere spectacle. But then came the harsh reminder of Hargrove's looming presence. Ethan paused, contemplating what Hargrove would think of his work. Would the billionaire appreciate authenticity or merely the marketability of it? In this industry, every decision often came with a heavy cost. The bittersweet truth churned within him, pushing him to consider the inevitable compromises. "Ethan, how about something with a bit more flair?" Jack suggested, breaking into Ethan's thoughts, a challenge wrapped in encouragement. "You've broken through once. Let's see you take it even further. What if you added some rhythmic twists?" Ethan's heart raced at the opportunity. He could feel the fire in his veins, the urge to evolve ignited by Jack's suggestion. With renewed determination, he embraced the idea, letting the rhythm guide him. He turned his attention to weaving complexity into his melody, a pulsating heartbeat that mirrored his commitment to authenticity despite Hargrove's warning. As he played, he pushed himself, diving deeper into his emotions, revealing layers he had hidden from even himself. The music began to transform, reflecting his struggles, triumphs, and uncertainties, a tapestry of experiences that demanded to be heard. It felt raw, it felt true. Creating became his armor against Hargrove's looming threats. Yet as the last note resonated and hovered in the silence that followed, a gnawing question lingered. Could he unveil this piece to the world, vulnerable yet powerful? A shiver crept along his spine at the thought of feedback, especially from Hargrove, who thrived on control over artistry. "Ethan," Jack broke in, his eyes lit up with encouragement. "That was incredible. It embodies you. Let's press forward. We've got something here." Ethan's heart swelled. Each affirmation anchored him further against the currents of self-doubt. This was no longer merely about Hargrove's expectations. It was about bringing his truth to life, crafting a narrative that interwove artistry with authenticity. But just as the thrill of creating began to envelop him, a text notification pierced the atmosphere. The name on the screen sent a jolt of adrenaline coursing through him. Rich Hargrove. Ethan hesitated, pulse quickening, wrestling with a fear that rose from the depths of his gut. What did Hargrove want now? Would he be met with derision, or worse, a patronizing appraisal? The answer lay just beyond his grasp, propelling him into a crucial decision. Respond immediately, or allow the moment to settle into the chaos of creative endeavor? As he stared at the screen, two paths unfurled before him. Either succumb to the pressure of expectation, or embrace his voice and the authenticity he had fought so hard to reclaim. Would he confront Hargrove directly, or find solace in the melodies that echoed his truth? The clock was ticking, and the stakes were rising. The screen glared defiantly, the text from Hargrove a modern-day guillotine poised over Ethan's future. Each tick of the clock felt like a hammer driving in the stakes deeper. He took a breath, letting the air fill his lungs, seeking clarity amid the noise that swirled in his mind. What Hargrove wanted was probably nothing more than to inject his own desires and visions into Ethan's work. Yet beneath the billionaire's often cold, calculating exterior, there was a shrewdness that understood artistry. Perhaps there was an opportunity for dialogue, a chance to carve out some space for his own creative expression, even under Hargrove's scrutinizing gaze. Would risking a response put him in a position to assert his own vision? Ethan's fingers hovered over the keyboard, the previous melody teasing at the edges of his psyche. Each note had been a confession. Perhaps confronting Hargrove, the specter of expectation, was necessary not just for survival, but for crafting a score infused with his essence. The fear of disappointment dulled, replaced by a burgeoning resolve. He sat upright, steadied his shaking hands, and opened Hargrove's message. "Ethan, I need to see you. The project is evolving. Meet me at my office at 3 p.m. Bring your ideas." Ethan read the message twice, the implication heavy. His ideas. Hargrove wanted to hear what he had to say, wanted a glimpse of that authenticity he had worked so hard to express. This could either be a launching pad or a trap. Would he share his full vision, or just tempered fragments that fit Hargrove's expectations? He glanced at Jack, sensing the supportive energy radiating from his friend. Jack had already propped up Ethan's creative spirit, had seen the potential spark amidst the confusion. With a decisive nod from Jack, he felt emboldened to trust himself, to claim this moment as his. "I'm going to meet Hargrove," Ethan announced, the words slipping out with unexpected confidence. Jack shot him a knowing smile. "You got this, man. Remember, he may be the money, but you're the art. Don't let him forget that." With those words echoing in his mind, Ethan left the studio, determination pulsing through him like the complex rhythms he had just composed. The streets buzzed with life as he navigated the city, but sound faded. He could only hear the melody floating in his mind. Each bar and rhythm amplified his commitment to himself and his craft. Time seemed to slow as he approached Hargrove's imposing office building, a stark contrast to his own burgeoning identity that yearned to be validated. The brass doors swung open with a majestic creak, revealing an interior lined with exquisite art that spoke of wealth and taste but felt utterly foreign to him. A secretary greeted him, her demeanor professional but warm. "Mr. Hargrove is expecting you." As Ethan walked into the sleek office, he found Hargrove perched behind a substantial desk, papers strewn about like a chaotic symphony waiting to be orchestrated. The billionaire looked up, his sharp eyes measuring Ethan with a critical gaze that seemed to size up his every intention, a mix of challenge and expectation. "Ethan," he gestured toward a chair, "let's see what you've created." Ethan settled in, heart pounding but mind clear. He cleared his throat, the myriad of emotions swirling within, grounding him in the urgency of the moment. This was his chance to articulate his vision, to draw the line between his artistry and the commercial world Hargrove inhabited. "I have been working on something that reflects my personal journey," he began, letting the words flow like the music that lived in him. "It's more than just a track, it's a narrative, a dialogue." As he spoke, the rhythm of his voice began to synchronize with the heart of his message. He revealed the melody, the layers of emotion intertwined within, and the significance behind every note. He watched Hargrove's face transform from a mask of cool skepticism to rapt attention, a flicker of intrigue sparking in the billionaire's otherwise calculating demeanor. But before Ethan could fully gauge the reaction, Hargrove leaned back, the playful glint back in his eye. "Dialogue is great, but will it sell? The audience's attention span is shorter than ever. Can you meet what they want?" Ethan's chest tightened at the return of that chilling question, the core battle between artistic integrity and commercial viability rearing its daunting head again. Just as he was ready to reaffirm his position, a flicker of temptation whispered that maybe for this moment, conformity was easier. But the weight of his music, his truth, surged within him. He was no longer creating for Hargrove, he was creating for himself. "I want to create art, Rich, art that speaks to values and takes risks," Ethan declared. The next moment held all the gravity of a turning tide. Would Hargrove dismiss him, or would he find value in that risk? Ethan held his breath, knowing that the answer would define his path forward. The clock was ticking again, and for the first time, he felt the power shift slightly into his hands. The stakes were rising once more. Would this be the birth of something beautiful, or the beginning of his artistic undoing? Ethan felt the weight of Hargrove's gaze pressing down on him, forcing him to reconcile the divergent currents of his ambition. The silence in the office stretched, vibrating with the tension of unspoken expectations. Hargrove's analytical eyes flickered, weighing the possibilities. "Bold," Hargrove finally said, a hint of admiration breaking through his pragmatic armor. "But boldness can be a gamble in this industry. You need to understand your audience." Ethan clenched his jaw, resisting the urge to simply nod in acquiescence. "I understand there are risks, but I believe that art should challenge, provoke, and resonate. It's not just about fitting into a mold. Art for art's sake? Hargrove countered, his tone sharper. How do you plan to make it commercial? The industry demands hits, not art house projects. Ethan took a breath, bruised yet unyielding. Did Hargrove genuinely want to stretch beyond the boundaries of mainstream success, or was he merely baiting him into submission? I can find that balance. The track I've developed incorporates elements that are both familiar and innovative. Creating something that resonates on a deeper level doesn't have to compromise accessibility. Hargrove leaned forward, uncrossing his arms, a sign that Ethan might have struck a chord. "Show me," he urged, almost a dare. Ethan felt an electrifying rush at Hargrove's challenge. This was what he needed, to showcase the music that had haunted him, the pieces that had simmered in the background while critics chirped about commercial appeal. He pulled out his notebook. "All right, let me play you a version. It's raw, but it's honest." The office transformed as he settled in front of Hargrove's grand piano. Audience no longer a concept, but presence before him. Ethan's fingers danced over the keys, each note striking like fire, igniting a blaze of passion. The rhythm resonated through the space, an intricate dialogue of his struggles and aspirations. As he played, he began to weave in stylistic nuances that toyed with familiar motifs. The complexity of his emotions tumbled forward, each chord an exploration of vulnerability and conviction. He could sense Hargrove's initial skepticism slowly metamorphosing into an unfiltered admiration. When the final notes lingered in the air, a palpable stillness enveloped them. Ethan lifted his hands, letting the silence settle, holding on to the moment of artistic revelation. Hargrove remained still, the gravity of the performance hanging between them. "That was unexpected," Hargrove said slowly, the words heavy with contemplation. "You've got raw talent, but I need to know if you can sustain this. What's your game plan for the album?" Ethan's pulse quickened. The question posed a fork in the road. Could he articulate a vision devoid of the commercial compromises?
"The album will reflect not just my voice, but an evolution that invites listeners to join a journey. I want to push boundaries, yes, but in a way audiences will connect with deeply." "Art requires strategy," Hargrove pressed. "What's the hook? Why would they connect?" Ethan hesitated. This was the crux of their budding alliance: how to embrace authenticity without subverting his own voice under the weight of commercial needs. Because it's real, if it's both relatable and reflective of something deeper than surface-level trends, that connection will resonate. I want to encapsulate the struggles with identity that many experience, and how music has the power to transform that struggle into something beautiful. Hargrove leaned back, the slightest hint of interest flickering in his eyes. Ethan sensed the shift, but was it enough to sway the billionaire? "We could explore a narrative basis for the marketing. Presenting your personal journey could set you apart," Hargrove began, his strategizing shifting in Ethan's favor. But just like that, self-doubt crept in again. Hargrove was indulging in this vision, but was he doing it to exploit or nurture? The intricacies of their negotiations started to unfurl, leaving Ethan caught between two worlds, wanting to create without cacophony, yet gripping awareness of commercial constraints. "Rich, I want this to be a partnership, one where the art comes first. Can we work towards that?" Hargrove regarded him with a calculating gaze, contemplating the sincerity intertwined with Ethan's plea. "We can try," was Hargrove's cautious reply, "but I'll expect the best, no half measures." As Ethan walked out of the office, heart racing and momentum building, a charged thrill coursed through him. Had he truly made the first steps toward harnessing his own narrative? Or had he simply laid the groundwork for an intricate dance, one where he might be forced to reclaim his artistry repeatedly? Unknown to him, a thought curled deep within. demanding exploration. Could he really navigate this elaborate game without losing himself? The excitement that pulsed through him swirled with unease. One wrong move could transform collaboration into a suffocating constraint. The journey to asserting his identity was unfolding. Each note composed was both a challenge and a revelation. What awaited him next was as unpredictable as the music he lived to create. Ethan stood on the bustling New York street, still clinging to the echoes of his performance, fully aware that the path ahead was tangled with uncertainty. He had encountered a formidable opponent in Hargrove, who wielded not just influence, but a scalpel-sharp acumen for the industry. As pedestrians swirled around him, the city felt simultaneously alive and daunting, an analogy for the crossroads he found himself navigating. He couldn't shake the feeling of being an imposter, a mere beginner on the vast stage of professional music.
He wrestled with the fact that he was not just pursuing art, but seeking to forge a brand, one that wouldn't compromise his essence. Could authentic storytelling survive in an industry relentlessly driven by metrics and marketing? He had survived so far by hiding behind his music, assuming that the sheer quality of his work would carry him through. But now he realized that storytelling would need to be a pillar of his strategy. His phone buzzed, interrupting his reverie. It was a message from Mary, his trusted friend and manager. "Let's brainstorm that game plan. I'm free now. Meet me at the cafe?" With no real plan but an underlying urgency, Ethan moved toward the cafe where they often configured dreams, an oasis amidst their chaotic lives. When he arrived, Ethan found Mary already seated at their usual spot, a caffeinated dynamo with an intuitive grasp of the music world. "You look intense," she remarked, eyes narrowing with playful concern. "What's going on?" Ethan took a deep breath, the weight of unspoken anxieties spilling out like an overfilled chalice. "It's Hargrove. He's on board, but I feel like I'm at the edge of a precipice. He wants a commercial strategy that feels betraying." Mary nodded, a finger tapping rhythmically against her mug, a methodical reminder to Ethan of the balance that needed to be struck. "But you have a point. Every great artist has faced this. How can we elevate your narrative without eclipse? What story do you want to tell?" He pondered thoughtfully, envisioning the expansive possibilities. "My background, my struggles, growing up feeling like an outsider, the quest for identity. I want to create something that doesn't just mirror my experience, but resonates with others. It's about feeling acknowledged in the echoes of my music." Mary's eyes lit up. She jotted down notes furiously. "That's your hook. We can weave it into everything. Social media teasers, your lyrics, behind-the-scenes videos. Your journey could knit a real connection with listeners. People crave vulnerability." Ethan began to feel a surge of optimism rise in his chest. The concept transformed from a daunting question into a formative strategy, a potential manifesto for his artistry. Yet a shadow seeped back in. "But what if I parlay this vision incorrectly? What if it becomes commodified? I don't want to be reduced to a marketing gimmick." "Then you rip the script," Mary said, her voice high with enthusiasm. "This is your narrative. It's permission to be messy. The imperfections are where art breathes. Lean into it. That's what will create authenticity." Ethan absorbed her words. It wasn't just about carefully curating the experience. It was about revealing the unpolished edges of his soul that shaped him. It would require embracing vulnerability, exposing himself, yet forging it into art with intention. "What do we do next?" he asked, feeling the newfound determination radiate from the core of his being. "Let's design the branding around those themes. We both know those superficial appraisals from the industry. It'll be more than a marketing hook. When you perform, share slices of your life. Let them feel your struggle alongside the music." Ethan could feel the inspiration igniting like a kindling fire. Perhaps, with Mary's guidance, the path laid out before him would not strangle his art, but rather empower it. This was his moment to chart a fresher course through the traditional waters of music. As he left the cafe, each step felt like a deliberate act of creation. Ethan realized, however, he needed to confront something deeper. Would he be prepared for potential backlash? The artistic community could be as unforgiving as it was valuable, quick to elevate or desecrate. The stakes were high, and each decision now could echo far beyond personal loss or gain. What face would he show to the world, and could he manage to stay true to himself when the lights shone too brightly? It was clear the time had come for him to wrestle his fears into submission and embody the very vulnerability he wished to project. With a deep breath, he felt a pulse of resolve. There were stories to untangle, melodies still to be sung. And for the first time, he was ready to face the music, not as a reluctant participant, but as a dynamic creator. In the midst of this burgeoning confidence, a reminder echoed. Had Hargrove truly understood the weight of the personal stakes involved? The partnership was a dance of power. Each step could either strengthen or fracture his artistic essence. The contours of his journey were only beginning to be revealed, and Ethan knew it would demand everything he possessed. As he walked, the bustling energy of the city melded into the backdrop of his mind, a potent reminder of the impending challenges. He was on the cusp of something extraordinary, but what would it take to maintain that path? The question loomed before him like a dark horizon, restless and full of promise. Ethan wandered through the vibrant streets, his thoughts swirling with a mix of excitement and trepidation. The conversation with Mary had ignited a flicker of clarity amidst the confusion. He left behind the cafe, feeling as if he'd uncovered a piece of himself buried beneath the pressures of expectation. Yet that clarity came with its own weight. Could he truly blend his vulnerability with the commercial demands of the industry? Or would the two clash violently, carving away at his artistic integrity? As he navigated the sea of humanity, Ethan's thoughts drifted to Hargrove. The man was known for his ruthless style, dazzling yet predatory, a general in the battleground of music. Ethan couldn't shake the unease that settled in his stomach at the thought of pitting authenticity against the polished veneer of commercial success. What if Hargrove's influence dictated the terms of his expression, his identity reduced to a mere commodity?
It was a conflict that sparked doubt. Doubt and fear, the two unwelcome companions of any artist. Ethan's mind churned, racing between self-doubt and ambition. He needed a plan, not just a marketing scheme, but a manifesto, an unwavering commitment that would guide him. He envisioned using his struggles as the backbone for his narrative. He could share the unfiltered pain of rejection, a universal feeling he understood deeply. But how to translate that raw honesty into something that would resonate with an audience beyond his immediate circle? He paused in front of a small record shop, its glass display glinting in the late afternoon sun. Inside, a collection of vinyl albums bore the weight of artistic legacy, a reminder of the raw, unrefined stories that littered the history of music. Ethan felt a twinge of inspiration. He wanted his listeners to connect with the heart of his story, much like the artists he revered. Every scratch of a record, every misaligned note, painted a landscape of emotion that felt tangible and raw. How had they done it? Resolute, he decided to explore that question. He would reach out to those artists, tap into their wisdom and experience, and learn how they navigated this treacherous landscape between authenticity and commercial appeal. But would they share their truths with a rising star still considered an outsider? The possibility of rejection hung in the air, a palpable threat just out of grasp.
Yet the prospect of creating something profound outweighed the fear. Flashes of ideas burst to life in his mind. Instagram live sessions where he could play and share his thoughts. Vlogs chronicling his personal story. Live performances that invited audiences into the fullness of his narrative. This was his opportunity to anchor his artistic identity and build a community not on superficial engagement but on shared experience. His resolve solidified as he headed home, envisioning the structure of a cohesive message that bridged his past with the future he wanted. There would be hurdles. He would need to confront those who might challenge his artistic vision, like Hargrove. But if he leaned into his vulnerability, he could dismantle any preconceived notions of what success looked like. However, the road ahead was still submerged in shadows. At what point would the gamble of honesty clash with practicality in a space so riddled with treachery? Could he really depend on an industry that often dissects authenticity into binary segments? Success or failure? Each potential misstep felt like a chasm he would have to traverse. As night fell, he sat at his piano, fingers poised over the keys, ready to channel both his fear and ambition into the music. It was an act of defiance against the doubts swirling within him. But just as he began to play, a knock at the door broke his concentration, a harbinger of impending complexity that seemed to loom over his artistic awakening. With a deep breath, he rose, bracing himself against the tide of uncertainty. Whoever it was had the potential to shape or shatter the newfound confidence he had begun to cultivate. Was it an opportunity waiting to unfold, or another challenge poised to derail his fragile vision? In that moment, the echoes of his music merged with the thrumming of his heart, creating a symphony of tension that demanded resolution. Whatever awaited him beyond that door could alter the course of his path, and he knew he had to be ready to confront whatever lay ahead. As Ethan opened the door, his heart raced against the backdrop of tentative anticipation. Standing before him was a tall figure cloaked in a blend of charisma and confidence, Hargrove. The music mogul's eyes scanned Ethan's space, landing briefly on the piano that still echoed with unplayed notes. "Evening, Ethan," Hargrove greeted, his tone smooth yet edged with authority. "Mind if I come in?" Ethan hesitated, the weight of the unexpected visit landing heavily on his chest. He stepped aside, barely comprehending the whirlwind of thoughts shooting through his mind. Was Hargrove aware of his internal battles? Did he sense the flicker of determination brewing beneath the surface? Seated on the worn couch, Hargrove's presence felt more commanding than the vibrant mix of colors that adorned Ethan's apartment. "You've been making waves, you know," Hargrove said, his voice even. "People are starting to pay attention." "Is that good or bad?" Ethan replied, testing the waters, unsure if his vulnerability would be met with understanding or disdain. "Depends on how you want to play this game," Hargrove replied, his gaze intense. "Your authenticity is your strength, but don't let it cloud your vision. You want commercial success? You need to package it right." Ethan felt a knot tightening in his stomach. "And how do I do that without losing myself?" "By presenting the right version of yourself," Hargrove said, leaning forward slightly. "The industry loves a good story, but they also love a product that sells. Your pain is your currency. It can turn into hits if you let it." Ethan clenched his fists, wrestling with the reality of Hargrove's words. The thought of curating his struggles felt like a betrayal to the raw honesty he craved in his music. "But isn't there a risk in that?" he challenged. "What if the version of me that sells isn't the real me?" Hargrove chuckled lightly, the sound almost disarming. "Every artist faces that dilemma, Ethan. The ones who succeed learn to ride the line. Use your audience's emotions, but don't drown in them. You bring them along for the ride, but you're still the one driving. A silence settled between them, heavy with unspoken truths. Ethan's mind raced through the implications of Hargrove's advice. Could he find a balance that preserved his essence while satisfying the commercial demands? Hargrove broke the stillness, his voice shifting into a more persuasive tone.
No more wading through a fog of expectations. He would play his story, each note a stroke on the canvas of his truth. The lights dimmed, and the audience hushed to an awe-filled silence. With a deep breath, he began to play. The initial notes echoed through the auditorium, reminiscent of his struggles with self-doubt, yet layered with a perceptible air of resolve. It was no longer a display for anyone's approval. It was an offering of vulnerability and resilience. Each chord heralded stories long buried, not just his own, but those of others who had traversed the chasm of rejection and the quest for acceptance. As the performance unfolded, Ethan felt the connection grow stronger with each passing note. He gazed out into the crowd and noticed familiar faces alongside many he had never seen before, all wrapped in attention, feeling the pulse of his past intertwining with his present. The relationships he had built, particularly that with Jack, carried through in the crescendos and silences of the music. When the final note resonated, a hush fell over the crowd like an ethereal blanket suspended in time. Ethan bowed his head for a moment, allowing the weight of the moment to sink in. This had not merely been an exhibition of his skill, it was a declaration of individuality and a bridge to those who resonated with his journey. The audience erupted into applause, a vigorous wave of recognition. The admiration in their eyes was no longer tinged with skepticism. Instead, it was validation of a deeper understanding. Behind the applause, he could sense their appreciation for the rawness he had shared, fellow travelers on the labyrinth of identity and ambition. Stepping away from the piano, a newfound clarity coursed through him. Maybe the relationship with Hargrove could be navigated on his own terms. He had discovered the strength to dictate his narrative, no longer a pawn to the industry's expectations, but an artist who could steer his own ship. Backstage, as the chorus of congratulations echoed around him, Jack's smile was more potent than any accolade. The pride in Jack's eyes was a confirmation of transformation. It wasn't just Ethan's success, but also a fulfillment of the lost connection they had fought to rekindle. With every interaction, whether with fans, friends, or mentors, Ethan recognized a palpable shift within himself. The confidence he cultivated permeated his being, turning insecurity into a vivid tapestry of experiences that ultimately shaped his artistry. Ethan's musical journey had expanded far beyond mere performances. It had blossomed into a narrative that spoke to the heart, one that engaged audiences on a profound level. From the cramped corners of his apartment filled with doubts to the expansive stage echoing his truth, he had achieved more than he ever thought possible. His first album was soon to be launched, carefully curated to reflect the authenticity he had learned to embrace. Instead of succumbing to the pressure of commercial success, he would craft music that upheld the unvarnished story of his life, encompassing challenges, victories, and the discreet beauty of resilience. As he interacted with supporters and discussions ensued about his future projects, gratitude swelled inside him. He had reshaped his fears and insecurities into melodies that not only resonated but inspired. This was the moment, the apex of personal resolution. As he cemented connections with those who understood and embraced his growth, Ethan realized that true fulfillment lay in authenticity. He had conquered the tumult within, proving to himself that vulnerability could unleash a strength profoundly resonant in the music industry.
Upon leaving the auditorium, he took a moment to breathe in the crisp night air, a potent reminder of the journey ahead. The road to self-discovery was ongoing, but the burden of doubt felt lighter. This transformation was not merely about the applause or accolades. It was about the echoes of his journey resounding in the hearts of others. Above all, Ethan had achieved a sense of belonging, not just within the music industry, but within himself. The curtain may have closed on this chapter, but the symphony of his life was just beginning. It was time to embrace the next melody, one that would continue to tell his story and celebrate the beauty of resilience in the face of uncertainty. Now is your moment. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. I want to hear your reactions. Comment below with your thoughts and theories about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful conclusion.